All right, cyber traders, welcome on back here this Wednesday afternoon, 2:30 p.m. Eastern time, and you know what time that is. It's time for our afternoon meeting. Great to see Chuck and Norman and Bobby all joining us here live, Leda and Ray included, and Kathleen and all of us live inside the cyber group room, still sticking with us here. And if you're joining us once again back on social media, Facebook Live or YouTube, welcome on back as well. So let's hop into it. BBIG on the screen here to begin, and I want to go over this move actually to start. I don't know if it's going to continue to push up. It's definitely a really tradable stock. We've been following it for the last, 5 straight trading days, right? But for Kathleen, for Patrick, for Chuck, Norman, Leda, perhaps really for any singular person that was inside the live trading room yesterday. Well, yesterday in Traders Talk, our weekly workshop, our weekly Q&A that we host right here in the Cyber Group trading room, we were talking about the BBIG levels. And if you recall, I was saying although it didn't hit that level yesterday, that being 4 to 407, well, we were watching this even back from Friday, the end of last week, and we were saying, hey, we ended up seeing a ton of volume filled at 407 in particular. So between that price and the whole number level 4, I was like screaming this level out to you folks going into the early afternoon, anticipating this exact little squeeze. So I was in from 405 before we started, ended up taking over the screen, and you saw me still in the trade at the time, at least for those that were in the room. I clocked out right at 430. It took a 25-cent profit. If it pushes up more, then I'll try and re-enter. But otherwise, though, for as much as this stock dropped today, I was expecting a decent return off of that 4 to 407 bounce level. But at this point, though, I don't know how much more I could squeeze out of it. So I'd rather just, take the money and run. Now, hey, for all of us that were in or that were not inside the live trading room yesterday, and if you do have access to our weekly workshop Traders Talk, just so you folks know, you can go right on the student dashboard, right on the CT website really quick. Just going to pull this up really fast. This is the student portal. Oh, here's my ugly mug. Nonetheless, though, you could see and scroll down. I posted the recording of yesterday's Traders Talk workshop right here. So if you go down, it's right here back from the 18th, from yesterday, of course. So you can always replay that right there, folks. So for Ray and Kathleen and Bobby, etc., anyone that was, not a part of Traders Talk yesterday, you can watch the recording. And I was going over at least that 4 to 407 level. All right. So for right now, hey, I would love to put this on our afternoon list. I'm not fully committed to it just yet. We'll see what else is out there, though, otherwise, right? And with that in mind, so I'll probably have a couple of crazy charts here with a bunch of different lines, so don't mind that. But let's talk about the SOFI stock to begin first. We'll talk about the Pixie trade. We'll talk about the SBEV trade from this morning. And then from there, we'll go right from top to bottom as usual. So SOFI, news came out this morning that they were being accepted and recognized as a national bank. All right, that type of news does not come out too often. I wasn't going to hold my breath waiting for a giant pop, but for the fact that this stock was trending back up quite nicely leading into the open, seeing this completely crash right away, really dropped from 14 all the way down under the 1350 level, like that was pretty surprising. So that threw me for a bit of a loop, but I was expecting the bounce over time. I was using a fib retracement level right around 1350 and then 1350 there. It still wasn't holding that great, but it eventually got a squeeze back up. And I ended up catching this not from 1350, but going into the early to mid afternoon, I was on this with one of our students inside a coaching session, and we ended up seeing this make a surprising pop right over 14. I was expecting a lot more of a fight here at the time. That's why I say surprising. But, hey, in terms of basic resistance turning into support, I ended up jumping into the trade right here at 403. And then from there, ran it up pretty nicely. I got out at 427. I told Felix that through private chat and Yehuda and a bunch of us here live. But otherwise, for right now, this stock, unfortunately, is not continuing. In fact, it ended up holding perfectly underneath the top yellow line that you happen to see there. That was the opening bell print from this morning. It was over a 1 million share print filled right out the gate on the market open. So, that was also another big level I was really adamant about. I was expecting this to hold here and for this to break higher. Didn't get it. So when it came back down a bit here, I folded my deck of cards and said that was it. I took about 24, 25-cent profit roughly from that 14 level. For right now, though, it still could be very tradable, kind of in the same line of thinking as BBIG. The only difference is that this is shortable. This is easy to borrow, actually, and a little bit more expensive, but this stock's trading as much volume as BBIG. Liquidity checks out great. And again, it is shortable. So with the way the market's looking right now, heading into the afternoon, this could be a very viable option. So again, I'll come back to this one at the end. We'll kind of cherry pick some of the stocks that are on the side list and see if there's any that look really good. We ended up trading Pixie from earlier today, going into the early afternoon, if anything, late morning perhaps. But we ended up watching this, more so, like I said, late morning. It ended up making a nice run without us at first, but it ended up continuing to push up later on. I was watching this with one of our students, Michelle, in a coaching session. Been on the mic all day, so my apologies. But just to say, we were watching 157 and 158, that penny range, because we kept seeing these big 100,000 share prints getting filled right at those two prices. So it was only a matter of time, in my opinion, before the stock just ultimately made some sort of move from that range, from that area. So thankfully, it held this support after. Moved right back on up. Nice trend up off the highs and the lows, pretty much in a great channel trending upward here. So for right now, I'm a little more committed to this Pixie trade. I'll put this on our afternoon list to begin. Pretty close still to the highs of the day today, and it broke above the highs back from the end of last year even, 175. All right, so you know what I'll do? I'll just go right from top to bottom. Otherwise, for any of the other stocks, VVOS, SBEV, SOFI we talked about already. I don't think there's much on the gainer side. Otherwise, market's down a lot. But altogether, for any of the other movers that we ended up catching from this morning, we'll recap them pretty briefly. So to begin, ZGNX, it looks like it's a moving. Nice trend down. If it's shortable, it could be a short. It's a buyout. This thing is not going to move too well heading into the afternoon. I wasn't expecting this to move too well heading into the open, to be honest. So, this thing, I don't know, not too particular about buyouts in general. All right, so we talked about Pixie. We keep it going. So number 3, VALN, we'll move away from this stock rather quickly. It actually looks great on the intraday. Like, this chart looks actually awesome. But I say that right away looking at level 3, though, looking at the matrix here on the far right side of my platform. I mean, this thing's on a 50-cent spread? I mean, listen, if you are going to trade this stock heading into the close, you're gambling. And if you don't think you are, then you are just not educated enough, or you're ignorant. So that's where I say one or the other. I would rather not throw a dart on the wall with a stock that has this illiquid of a book. So I'm going to pass on this trade for right now, and we keep it going. VVOS, nice move from earlier today, this stock. So let's talk about this briefly. It ended up making a nice pop going into the pre-market and dumped off pretty quickly after. So truth be told, looking at it here, I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan of this pattern here. It's like pop and drop. I would only expect this to break down more later on. Well, it actually had a strong open. Ended up actually doing pretty nicely. It broke above a chart level I drew right off of 213. Ended up eventually re-breaking that price later on. So, it actually re-broke it right here heading into the mid-morning. And from that point, it led to a great trade. So, 213 up towards right around 250, basically 248. What I ended up doing was I ended up looking on the daily chart for this trade. And I said, well, hey, we had a pretty strong bottom going back into the end of November, early December here, and even throughout, pretty much right there at 250, I think 248 in particular. And just to say, the stock had a really tough time trying to break out from that 250 area. And even when it did, false breakout. So, this one actually did us pretty nicely from the morning, but, the wheels fell off on this trade shortly after. All right, we keep it going. Again, with another stock I charted, lined up early from pre-market hours, even the SBEV trade. Now, on this one, it's just to say that we ended up trading the stock not from yesterday, and again, the markets were closed on Monday. We ended up trading the stock back from Friday last week, and what we recognized on Friday was that we ended up seeing a lot of volume filled at the market close, and that price was at $4.18. It's not even holding that great, it wasn't perfect, but there was a few different shakes here, and then finally it popped above it here, held it fairly well as support, little shake under and back over. And for right now, you can try and say that it's making a move up to 450, trying to break above that 450 resistance level. I don't know. I mean, I wish this made a sharper move up heading into the early afternoon even to begin, and it didn't. So not too particular about this one for right now. I guess if it pops, by the time we finish this meeting, I would reconsider, but I'm not expecting that to happen. GVMD, for as much as this ran up the last few days, I would have thought this one would have dumped off too, but had one last squeeze. And it might be trying to tease us here. It might be trying to pull us back in as it is trying to inch back up off of like 535, 530 ish. Um, I don't know, not fully sold on this one. Already ended up pumping up, dumping back down. I'm sure that we'll get a second wind type of move to where this maybe goes up to like a 580 ish. If you're already in right now, then kudos to you. Ari, there we go. Just as I say that, I look back on the chat board and perfect timing because Ari just got out with a 14-cent profit. So there we go. Nice trade, Ari. But yeah, I mean, even if it does push up a tiny bit more, we see this happen so many times where a stock runs up, dumps back down. It can make a second win type of move, but that does not mean breaking new highs, right? So let's be careful from this point forward on this trade. Uh-oh, my trader's dyslexia is kicking in really hard right now. If you see GVMD number 6 on the gainers list, look what's number 7 right now. GMDA. The heck is this? Oh boy. All right, so we got GMVD kind of on the side list, and then GMDA. This one's pretty flat too. So I guess shortable in case if it does drop off, pull back further into the close. But I don't know. I'd rather pass on this one here too. And another one, GDXU. The G's out in full force here today. And Grill, another one. Why am I here? This is actually a former runner for us going back into last year. Ended up making these big volume spikes, and that's where we ended up trading it here. I don't know. Nice move up earlier today. This one snuck past us, actually, but not particular about it for right now. And that may lead me back to SOFI, folks. The only stock I have on the main list that I've committed to really so far is Pixie. And with SOFI being as tradable as it still is, you know what? At this point, we'll put the SOFI trade on the afternoon list. It's not showing great direction, but if we happen to see this hold back over 4 as nicely as it did here, then that could be a pretty telling sign for a potential run back up. All right, so we keep it going. We'll keep it moving. We got the 2 gold mining ETFs, JNUG and Nugget. Actually, some old names for us here to jump back on. Maybe not old to some of our longtime students that consistently trade gold, right? But I haven't really checked in on the gold miners in quite some time myself. Nice push up today for Nugget. Perhaps going against the overall direction of the market right now. Maybe people pulling out of fiat, jumping into gold, metals, etc. Potentially crypto. We'll talk about that at the very end. Doesn't seem like it though, heading into today at least. Bitcoin stock BTCS ended up making a nice pop earlier today, but then completely died off. Here's another metal stock, silver. Pan American Silver. Fausto loves trading this one, and of course, it's more when it's within our price range. We love trading it. So, this one was pretty nice from earlier today. If you're following the metals, perhaps this would be one of the better ones for you to watch. Maybe AG with that. All right, so we'll hop over to the losers list right now, folks. Actually, I guess I'll check out Casper lastly here. All right, we'll move on to the loser side for the meantime here. CRDF down big. It is shortable. It is at the lows. Ooh, this could be pretty interesting. I got my volume bars all squished up here, so give me a sec. Interesting. At the lows, see about 5,000 plus shares on the bid at 462, penny off from the low of the day, then big support at 450 on the bid there. Is this stock breaking all-time lows? That is the question I'd like to answer. Well, 52-week lows, and by the looks of the daily chart, it's pretty close. Not all-time lows, not all-time lows. That's unfortunate. You got to go back to 2019, 2020 pandemic here. Dropped all the way down to 70 cents back then. All right, well, that's not going to deter me from following this as a possible short heading into the end of the afternoon. It is shortable. It's at the lows. I wish this was trading a little bit more volume per minute, but that's all right for right now. CRDF, I'll put on our main list for right now. And what else do we have here? We have a couple of other stocks either at the lows or just straight shortable, down big today. But OCX, the cheaper you go, the closer you get to the ground floor. And I'd rather stay away from the ground floor when it comes to shorting, right? OESX, not as close to the lows as the CRDF. We'll pass on this. BBIG moved up to 450. Damn, ended up leaving some money on the table. All right, so I'll tell you what, I mean, just given how tradable it is, I mean, consistently tight spread, cheap stock, trading a ton of volume per minute. It already made the move off of 407 or 4407 area, but maybe there's a chance this could, materialize as a better run up for the close. So kind of in the same line of thinking as like SOFI, just given the overall volatility the last few days or even today, then I don't mind putting this on the back end of our list here just in case. Man, everything else hard to borrow here. Otherwise, some familiar names that are down today. Lagavulin, we got Grom, iSig. Former runners, of course, DWAC and Fun. Whack today. Ended up dropping off quite a bit once the market opened up, and ended up holding three pretty nicely as resistance is the Fun trade. And pass on these. All right, so folks, if there's anything else up, down, left, right, more than 5% that you'd want me to check out or look at here pretty quickly, type it in the chat board. Just let me know. All right. In the meantime, I will be extremely brief on Bitcoin because although today is Wednesday and we typically talk about cryptos Monday, Wednesday, Fridays here inside the Cyber Group room, we talked about it yesterday, right? Market was closed on Monday, so I did most of my analysis yesterday. So I can't imagine for there to be a whole lot that's happened since. Just looking at the daily chart for that matter, but overall, we're still kind of beginning to kind of hold the 100 and 200 EMAs on the hourly chart, beginning to make lower highs. Didn't crash and tank just yet. Kind of just still in this area here. And, to a fair degree, that's what I was anticipating. I was hoping going into the weekend that we would see a lot stronger of a pushback up here. Didn't get it. All right. Well, if we didn't get it, I mean, perhaps that could happen coming up this week. But otherwise, I would only anticipate further chop. And looking at the daily chart, we're still right around that 500 EMA. All right. So for the meantime, I'm not expecting, or I should say, for the meantime, I'm expecting this to kind of hang around the 500. If it does pop up over the next 24 to 48 hours, then I would definitely anticipate the 100 to 200 EMAs to hold here on the 6-hour graph. It's right around 47 on the 200 EMA, but more so here, like 44.5, maybe 45,000. If it sneaks up a little bit higher, that would be more so of a local resistance on Bitcoin. But that's it, though, folks. Not a whole lot specials happened, at least in terms of crypto, the last 24 hours. Just wanted to show the chart pretty briefly. But again, if there's anything else, though, otherwise that you wanted me to look at here, just let me know. Tell you what, I got one of us on YouTube here with the chat. I couldn't make it out. I do apologize. If you want to retype that, definitely do so, and I'll be more than happy to look at the stock that you want me to look at. Let's not get SBEV confused with SBET, actually, like I did this morning in pre-market. Ended up typing SBET in here when I meant to type in SBEV. So that's what I mean. SBEV, though, again, I guess coming back to this trade, I guess you can kind of put this in the same line of thinking as SOFI and BBIG, and just in terms of an overall volatile stock that's trading a lot of volume across the day today, near 56 million shares as I'm talking. So that's all good. It's just like I wonder at what point does this begin to completely go the other way again? It popped from early last week even. So this exact pop from Friday, this made my jaw drop. This blew my expectations out the water. So the next day when it crashed, like this was expected. This morning, I was expecting a bit of a pullback at first. Pretty surprising to see it kind of hold strong here. So you know what? We don't have a big list. I'm not like chomping at the bit on SBEV, folks, just so you know. But for the meantime, I'll kind of slip this on the back here as well. All right, so time right now, folks, is 2:50 Eastern time. Last call. Anything up, down, left, right, more than 5%, let me know. And hey, if there's nothing else, then I think that we did a good job, right? If you got nothing for me, that means I think I scanned just about everything throughout the market. John M says Frey, but the 1 minute is spotty. I mean, well, very good description of that 1 minute chart. I would agree. I mean, it's up over 9%, trading 2.2 million. Not a bad call. Good liquidity, but I feel like it's just kind of washed up already at this point. Already made a bit of a move up, pulled back. It's going to get that second win type of move, perhaps. But I'll pass on it here for this afternoon. MOBQ got a private chat right now from, I think, even just one of our trial members testing our room out here. You know what? It just popped up a little bit, but not trading nearly as much volume as John's Frey. So I'm going to pass on this one for right now as well. This one's not looking that great, actually. We'll look at vaccine stock here from earlier today. This made a big pop, made a big drop. I'll tell you, folks, I think there's not much else out there that we looked at. So I think we're going to call it. I think that we're just about good to go here. I'm going to type and tweet the list out to all of us here. Otherwise, there's 5 stocks on the list so far. Perhaps, I guess it's possible where the second I jump off the microphone here, finish up this meeting, that there could be something that does make a bit of a move. Well, if it makes a big move, call it out. If not, then let's just start and stick with this list, folks. Then probably around 3:15 Eastern time, as Rich is on the mic at that point, then we'll look to rescan the market a lot more seriously from there and see if there's any last second pushes going into the close. All right, so for all of us inside the live trading room, at the horn, last one. And Chuck makes some pretty solid call outs. Let's see. IMTE. Oof, at the horn, buzzer beater. It's looking a lot better now than it was right at 2:30. I didn't even look at this one on the gainer side because it wasn't up enough. But absolutely, for right now, it's hard for me to not put this on our main list. It's one that we're relatively familiar with from the last couple of trading days. My issue, though, on this, if you're a veteran student of Cyber Group, you know where I'm going to already on this. The order book is pretty thin. Just be careful on that. But great call from Chuck, though. And for right now, I will kind of slip this on our list here, too, the IMTE. All right, so for all of us on Facebook Live, YouTube Live, Facebook, I'll probably never get it right, but I appreciate you sticking with me each and every day, each and every afternoon. If you have any questions, thoughts, comments, suggestions, any feedback regarding these meetings or anything entirely that you'd like to send over my way, feel more than free to do so. Just send it right to my email address, josh@ctutrading.com. I typically take care of all of our students and members alike inside Cyber Group first, but I'll get back to everyone via email within the next 1 to 2 days. But if you wanted to continue the audio commentary that we have inside our live trading room, feel more than free to go right down to the link on the banner below the stream there in green to get yourself started. All right. But for later, for Skip, Chuck, John, Ray, Kathleen, Norman, and all of us otherwise live inside the Cyber Group room, I'll be back on right at 3:30 Eastern time, taking you folks into the market close. I'll talk to you all soon.